What's up, everybody? Welcome to another UFC Quick Picks here on the Mayo Media Network. We have UFC 303 this weekend. Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochaska. Number 2 should be a really fun card. A lot of prizes are up for grabs on DraftKings. 13 fights on the slate as of now. I am here to give you my favorite cash game play, tournament play, salary play, and a matchup I like as well. Before I do, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. Why don't you comment below and give me a fighter priced between 8.7 and 7.5K. So I'm going like super mid-range here. Give me a fighter that stands out to you there, and let's exclude the main event. I think Pereira and Prochaska will get a lot of ownership. Other than that, certainly there's a lot of viable options, some of which we will talk about. Always curious to hear your opinions. And also, EstablishTheRun.com. Please make sure you check out our premium content as well. Not only do we do full written breakdowns of every fight on the slate, just went 2 hours with my boy Gordo Gambles, podcast-wise, breaking down every single fight on the card, rankings, projections, all that good stuff. Working really, really hard this week to give you guys the content you need to help you win on DraftKings. Without further ado, let's get into my cash game play of the week, which is going to be Macy Chiasson at 7.4K. Yes, very rarely do we use a cheap fighter for our cash game play of the week, but I will make an exception for Macy Chiasson at 7.4K, who is 50-50 to win her fight. She's minus 107 to beat Mayra Bueno Silva, and that's about all you need to know. Macy Chiasson's priced in a range with Marc-Andre Barrio and Vinicius Oliveira and Cub Swanson, who are plus 200 or worse. And it's just, she has clear win equity compared to fighters surrounding her in price tag. Not only that, but she's a grappler. So when she wins, she scores very, very well. 111, 106, 108, 111, 111, 102. She's actually crushed. And we were on her in her last fight against Pannie Kianzad as a contrarian option as well. She'll be much more popular this week given that price tag. But in a fight that's expected to extend, let me pull up the exact odds here. The fight is minus 175 over 2.5 rounds. As a 50-50 pick 'em there, I think Chiasson's a great value, 7.4K grappling equity against an opponent in Bueno Silva who doesn't defend strikes well, doesn't defend takedowns well. Chiasson can definitely put up points even in a loss, even in an extended fight. So I think she's a very easy cash game target to start your constructions. Next up, my tournament play of the week. Let's go off the board for who I usually target, and we'll go with Roman Dolidze at 8.4K, coming off back-to-back losses and priced in a range with Diego Lopez and Alex Pereira and Ian Gary and Michael Page. I do hope that Dolidze is a bit overlooked here. He's been a very, very popular target for most of his UFC career, though not really by me because I just don't love the process in his game. However, he's fighting an opponent, Anthony Smith, who I also don't love the process in his game, and we were actually on Anthony Smith as a punt underdog in his last fight against Vitor Petrino, where he pulled off an early guillotine, but that's because he was priced north of plus 200 and 6.8K, and he has some finishing equity. So it's like, if you're going to give me Anthony Smith below 7K against an opponent who has some defensive issues, sure, I'm willing to punt with him. Now he's priced near a pick'em. I mean, Dolidze is a slight favorite, minus 140. Dolidze plus 122. I just think this is a step up in competition for Smith, while it's a step down in competition for Dolidze. Regardless of whether I think that or not, Dolidze still has issues in his game. He doesn't throw a lot of strikes. He slows down. Not the greatest wrestler in the world. So if Smith happens to beat him, so be it. The reason I like Dolidze in tournaments is partially because he'll be overlooked and partially because Anthony Smith is just lacking defense. I mean, he's getting up there in age. He has a long career history of getting beaten up, coming from behind and winning, which is very impressive, but you're still kind of getting beat up in the process. And if you exclude his recent win, I mean, prior to that, he was knocked out in the third round by Khalil Roundtree. Prior to that, he was easily outstruck by Johnny Walker. Prior to that, he was knocked out by Magomed Ankalaev. He's been knocked out by Glover Teixeira. He is breakable to a degree. Dolidze is a risk, but he's priced at 8.3K, so he doesn't need 115 points to be optimal. If he can put up 90, he's all of a sudden contending. Given his style, he can land ground and pound. He has some submission equity. And I think I am willing to use him as a pivot, especially against Alex Pereira and Diego Lopez, who should be more popular in this range. Not the biggest fan of Dolidze as a talent, but I do like the fantasy upside for him. In this matchup, plus 160 to win inside the distance, I will hunt for a ceiling there. Next up, my salary play of the week, I will go with Brian Ortega at 7.8K. He's the underdog against Diego Lopez. I always pick against Diego Lopez, and I always get it wrong. So let's set up the fight with that. Lopez is once again a favorite here, minus 144, Ortega plus 125. They profile very similarly. Both are very strong submission grapplers. Both have questionable wrestling. Both are just bombs away on the feet, don't really have much defense, but they're okay with not having defense because getting taken down doesn't really hurt them. Ortega obviously has a much longer career, fought much better competition, while Diego Lopez is storming into the UFC. He has 3 consecutive first-round wins, just run through opponents, and it's very impressive, and I wouldn't be totally surprised if he ran through Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega's getting up there in his career. I don't know that he's old, but he's fought for a very long time. His last win against Yair Rodriguez, he was rocked early in the fight. So if Diego Lopez goes out there and just knocks Ortega out, props to him. I think it's possible. However, Ortega's a better wrestler. Ortega, early in his career, chose not to wrestle. Recently has wrestled a lot, coming off a strong submission win against Yair Rodriguez. Diego Lopez doesn't defend takedowns well. I think Ortega can get on top of him. He should have less to worry about than Lopez's typical opponents because Ortega is very well-schooled as a submission grappler, so I'm not too fearful of him getting submitted from top position. I also think Ortega's better in an extended fight, probably throws higher volume. Lopez probably has more power at this stage, but Ortega's been very durable throughout a long career, so I have some faith, not a lot of faith, but some faith that Ortega can extend this fight, land takedowns, get on top, potentially outbox Lopez as well. He should provide some leverage against Lopez there at 7.8K, plus 300 to win inside the distance. You should play some Diego Lopez in tournaments if you want as well, but I'll be underweight to the field, and I will take another chance on the underdog, better round winner in Ortega at 7.8K. Finally, my matchup of the week, it's going to be the preliminary opener in Ricky Simón against Vinicius Oliveira. Simón is the favorite at minus 238. Oliveira plus 199 on DraftKings. Simon's 8.9K, Oliveira 7.3K. And the reason I really like this matchup twofold. A, because of Simón. Ricky Simón averages a lot of takedowns per 15 minutes. It's 5.49 exactly takedowns per 15 minutes. He's topped out at 14, 7, 7, 6, 6, 6. He lands a lot of takedowns in a lot of fights. That's partially because he's not a good control wrestler or submission grappler, and so like once he lands takedowns, he can't do anything with it. That's a problem in his game. But from a fantasy perspective, it's great because he'll just go back to the takedown over and over again and put up massive scores. On DraftKings, he has finished with 112, 106, 98, 131, 107, 101, etc. Big scores. So at 8.9K against an opponent in Vinicius Oliveira, who's a flashy showboater, knockout artist, I think Simón can land a bunch of takedowns, can produce a bunch of offense, and contend for the optimal lineup at 9K. However, if things go sour for him, if that lack of control hurts him, where he's taking Oliveira down, Oliveira's getting back up, and forcing striking exchanges, all of a sudden Ricky Simón's in danger. Oliveira is a dangerous striker, granted with no defense, but he's got power. Simón's been hurt before. Simón's been knocked out before. And Oliveira probably throws more volume. So I think Oliveira's going to push a pace. Simón typically pushes a pace. And it's going to provide a high floor ceiling combo for Oliveira as well in a win. I'm definitely on the Simón side here, but I fully acknowledge the danger that Oliveira will bring early. And ultimately, it's why I like the matchup as a whole. Certainly a good one to target to open up the night. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's UFC Quick Picks. Thank you so much for the support. You can follow me on Twitter, Appley, TTP, EstablishTheRun.com, again, for all your premium content needs. Would really love it if you would check us out and support me and the team over there. Best of luck in your contests. Take care, stay safe, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.